What is the current status of freedom to dance activities, including the number of participants, current problems, targets, and development plans for the future?
Okay, so the freedom to dance family, in a way, we have nearly 7,000 members in the Freedom to Dance Facebook entity. In the competition last year, we had over 400 competitors, I think?
Yeah, we had 213 couples.
So
yeah,
426 actual participants, etc. And we were very pleased with that, and we hope to continue to keep expanding the number of people that are interested in freedom to dance.
And I think from our own point of view, I mean, the utopia would be that every couple from every association would be able to dance something like a World Dance Day. And I think, in fact, in Japan, they have one competition per year where the 3 or 4 societies come together, and that's absolutely wonderful. So that would be a fantastic goal. And I think a great achievement in the current situation.
What were the reasons and purposes for founding Freedom to Dance in 2011?
Well, in 2010, at the UK Championships in Bournemouth, it was announced that there would be a ban on couples dancing in non-WDSF competitions, including most of the English competitions. And I felt this was very unfair to ban couples who had done no wrong, and I felt that they had a right to dance in open competitions. And this was really the start, and I felt to myself, well, what are we going to do about this? What's the real thing we can do? And somebody suggested to me on the night that I could make a Facebook, and I said, well, what's a Facebook? And somebody then set a Facebook up for me. Within 24 hours we had 1,000 members of the Facebook Freedom to Dance. And so I felt, yes, there was a great need here to offset this strategy that was being used against a lot of young dancers. There's dancers young as 15, 14 years old were being banned from dancing in open competitions, and I felt this was wrong. And I felt we needed to do something to encourage them and to enable them to dance in open competitions. So that was the real motivator for starting the Freedom to Dance project. And that went for about 6 months or so, and then I thought to myself, well, what is the next level? How are we going to move this on? And that's when the idea of a Freedom to Dance competition came in. And this has proved to be very, very, very popular. So this year will be the 4th year that we've run it.
So I think the main driving point of Freedom to Dance is basically the human rights issue. And the Council of Europe drafted the European Convention of Human Rights in, I think it was 1949 to 51, and that was enshrined in British law in 1998. So for us, that is the main driving point of Freedom to Dance, is that it is a human right to freedom and a freedom of choice, and particularly when it is something as beautiful and as artistic as ballroom dancing, there should be no restrictions on any individual. So that for us is the major factor that we always try and put to the fore.
What is your opinion on the political chaos in the dancing world? And do you believe the situation has improved since the founding of Freedom to Dance?
I think Freedom to Dance acted as something of a pressure group within our business, particularly regarding the banning of couples. And I believe that pressure group did some good, and obviously the end result is that, technically anyway, that the banning has stopped. Whether that is actually theoretically or practically the case, of course, is another thing. But it did apply pressure, and I think it did help a lot of the couples. And in fact, many of the countries, like America, for example, I think is a template country in terms of their attitude towards the openness and freedom that they allow their couples to dance pretty much where they want to. So,
yeah, and I think that the basis of freedom dance is a principle, and the principle is the right to dance. It's freedom right, human rights again. And I think what Freedom to Dance did was to maintain that principle as its major point of view, and this has affected, I think, the political decisions that have been made in the last year when the banning has been stopped officially, and so there's been partial success for freedom of dance in that area, although the individual countries can still affect their couples by stopping them from dancing, but there are countries that do not do that at all, which is very heartwarming and very encouraging for the future. So freedom to dance, I think, has played quite a strong role in this between the two factions that you've got in the world at the moment, the WDSF and WDC. And freedom to dance has stuck to the principle, and the principle is just cannot be questioned: human rights.
I think also from our point of view, we feel that as a competitor, your focus is entirely on your perfectionism of dancing. You're trying to be true to your art, and you're really not interested in politics, and so you shouldn't be, because your whole life is about developing your art form. And when you're in that bubble, so to speak, you don't want to have to think about the things that are going to interfere with your development or your ability to dance where and when you want to. So if freedom to dance has made the situation for couples all throughout the world easier, then we feel we've done our job. Even if it was one couple that felt the benefit, then we've made it a little bit easier for those competitors.
But overall, I think that at the moment you have the two major factions in the world, and I think generally they're going their own way at the moment. This is what they're doing. But I hope that overall in the future there will be reconciliation, and that both sides will come together and they both can profit from this reconciliation that I think is probably necessary in the dance business to make it work completely globally.
And I'm sure if you had a consensus of opinion from the competitors, I think they would all prefer to have a united dance society, because of course that's better for everybody. It raises the standards of the dancing, and I think, as I say, I think competitors are really not interested in squabbles going on in the upper echelons of politics. It's really about dancing.
And what a shame really it is for young couples who don't get the opportunity to dance in wonderful venues and historic venues such as Blackpool. That's been going nearly 100 years now, and it has marvellous history, and you have a lot of couples now in the world who will not be allowed to dance in great venues and great historic competitions such as Blackpool, the British Open Championships, where all the great dancers have danced, and it's been a goal for many people to visit Blackpool and dance in that great competition. And it's a great shame if reconciliation does not come and allow this to happen to a lot of young couples.
What do you think about dancing today, in both ballroom and Latin American? And looking back to when you were competing, what do you think has developed or deteriorated in each dance?
It's a very difficult question to answer, really. But dancing today is still great, wonderful dancing, and there are different aspects, and dancing has developed since I competed, which was in the 80s. But I would say that the couples generally have very good energy today in the ballroom section and the Latin as well. Spatial factors have increased, I would say, as well, and the choreographic factor has developed as well. So things progress and things change, and this is necessary in order for ballroom dancing to develop and to stay alive. If we don't develop, then it will stagnate, and any art will die if there's no innovation. And so we have innovation. Some is good, some is bad, but overall it's still moving forward, which is good.
Actually, I think that if you take any era of dancing, and you can go back to the pioneers, I think you can through those eras there's beauty and skill, and if you take the early stages of dancing, the harmony of movement was wonderful. If you take the 40s and 50s, the beautiful usage of the feet and the legs was spectacular, and then as time moved on, the spinal column became I would say more upright and vertical, and within that beautiful. And if you go to today's dancing, you've got tremendous energy, space, choreographic ingenuity. So I think each era has its own qualities and skills, and really that's as a whole society how we've moved on. And I think, of course, sometimes things are diluted because they get to a critical point of almost perfection, and then when they're pushed to a limit, they lose their attractiveness or beauty. But overall, I think we keep moving in a direction where we evolve in a good way, and I think there will always be things that perhaps one could say, well, they were better before and not so good now. But in a general sense, I think dancing is moving and evolving and developing in the right way consistently.
I would say also that perhaps the next development, big time development, will be musical development. It has developed, of course, musically, but I think that will be the next big development. We've had spatial factors that have increased. Energy has generally increased overall, but I think the real next big innovation will be more interest and more effect and performance related to music.
This may be difficult for you to answer, but if possible, which couple do you like best now and why?
Me. I like me. I'm dancing really good at the moment. Well, it was Oscar Wilde who said comparisons are odious, and I tend to agree with that. What you have at the moment is you have Arunas and Katusha have won, I think, 5 United Kingdom championships, so at the moment they are dominant. The other couples are also very good in the final, and they all show certain qualities that can give them the opportunity to develop further. In the Latin, you have a great champion at the moment with Malatowski, but behind him are some very, very good dancers from America, from Canada, etc. And nobody can rest on their laurels. They're all going to have to push on and keep developing and improving their dancing in order to be successful. Do I have any favourites? Well, my favourites really, I think, are in some of the developing couples at the moment. There's some very nice couples in the semi-final that I think will come through, and I think in the future you're going to see some very nice standard of dancing in ballroom and Latin, both.
You are both very successful champions. What do you think contributed most to your success? Was it practice, studying the background of each dance, studying the music, meditation, image training, or exercises?
Well, I would say there's two sections to that. I think there's the psychological section, and then you've got the physicality. And I would say if you're looking at the physicality side of it first, undoubtedly having a good fundamental training is imperative, because without that you cannot build on anything. So I think the medal test system for children particularly, and that the fundamental foundation of your early years is absolutely vital. I cannot deny, I think, that the physical gifts of certain people do help and enhance their dancing. So If you're physically gifted, of course, that's going to be an advantage, although it doesn't necessarily mean you can win or not win, but it is a help. And then, of course, physically, how you prepare the body. So you've got, things like stamina, flexibility, on top of the general mechanics of dancing. So if you're taking that section, I think there are a number of factors with that. And then in terms of the psychology preparation, I think maybe overriding all of that is motivation and desire. Because if you really, really want to be the best, you will find a way to practice. You will find a way to enter the next competition, even though it may not be practically very possible. But I think the motivation and desire is absolutely key. And then, of course, for every champion, I believe a very large part of their psychological makeup is to do with their upbringing. So in my own case, my mother was a perfectionist in everything she did. And she never inflicted that upon me, but I think just being in that environment certainly, I think, helped to motivate me to be a perfectionist in my own field. So, and I think that's probably true for every champion. So, and when I did a lecture many years ago on how to win Blackpool, and I asked a number of champions a number of questions, the 2 points or 4 answers that came back was that you need to have a good basic training, you need to be motivated, and you need to have desire, you need to have a small team of teachers around you who will guide and nurture you to success. And those are the basic foundation things that you need in order to be a champion, I would say.
Completely agree. Yeah, but I completely agree with everything you said there. Recently, there was an interview with the drummer who played in the same trio as Oscar Peterson, who was the great jazz pianist. And the interviewer said to the drummer, well, Oscar was a genius, of course, but the drummer said, well, I don't know about that. He did the 10,000 hours of practice. And I think that is the big key, is the 10,000 hours of practice with good teachers. I think good teachers are really important. When I look back on my own development in dancing, my teachers had really big influence on me, and I trusted completely what they were telling me. They had done it themselves. They had been very successful. They were world champions, British champions, and if they said to me, stand on your head, I would try to stand on my head. But I did the 10,000 hours of practice as well. So you can have great talent, but you still got to do the work. And it's that determination, as Anne said, determination and perseverance, and the desire to be good dancers, not necessarily to win. To win is a result of what you're doing, but the 10,000 hours of practice is how you achieve it, with good instruction.
What did you miss most today in dancing and competitions? Has anything been lost during the course of the years in the name of development?
I think maybe that there's difference in qualities in the eras, and the difference of emphasis that has changed. And if you go back to the beginning of dancing, the man led the lady. There were no routines to dance, and so very high on the agenda was leading and following and harmony of movement. And then as technique developed, legs and feet became very, very important. The usage of the ankles, the usage of the feet became very beautiful, and that was a big quality that was looked upon in those days as very, very important. And so through the eras, you've got the same thing has happened, and then energy became more important. When society changed between the wars, etc., and after the war, more people danced, it became more extrovert, and dancing developed in that way. And then coming to present day, spatial factors are more important, as we said earlier. and more important. But with the great couples, they do all these things. They have great feet, they dance together. So I don't really think, this was better then or that was better then. They're just different levels, basically. And everybody is still trying to have lovely feet and legs in their actions, still dance together and dance with energy and making sure the spatial factor, the look, is still good.
I think for me, the only thing I truly hope is that in the effort to achieve grand three-dimensional space, particularly for lady dancers, that they don't lose their ability to be flexible and soft and oily. And soft doesn't in any way mean negative or weak. It just means that if your body, and particularly your upper body, is very flexible, in fact the spatial quantity can be much greater, because you're going from, you're in a fluctuating state rather than choosing one set position. So if there was one thing I would like to preserve and in some ways rejuvenate, is the flexibility of the spine, because I think that is at the heart of the physical expression, which then goes on to affect the musical expression. So that's an important factor for me. But as Richard said, dancing's moving on, and generally I would say it's moving in the right direction. So I don't feel necessarily that things were better before. I think they're different and they've moved on. So
I think the thing that I think is several basic things that we mustn't lose. One, it still must remain beautiful as an art. It must remain musical, and people must still dance together. If we lose those three things, then I think we're losing ballroom dancing.
Today's dancing, in both ballroom and Latin, uses a lot of syncopation to give speed in the dancing. Do you think the elegance of the dance and speed can live together? If not, would you think it correct that you have to sacrifice the elegance in order to achieve speed?
Well, for me, I think to have speed immediately preceded or followed by, tremendous softness and stillness is, the ultimate goal. So acceleration followed by deceleration.
Diminuendo,
crescendo. Yeah, I mean,
contrast. Yeah.
That's right. Contrast and dynamics is the very heart of dancing, and so for me, yes, that would be the ultimate goal. So can they live together? Oh, they're made for each other.
And also, I think that the goal must be to maintain the character of each dance. I think if there's steps that are used that are not conducive to the character of the dance, then we're going to lose a lot of interest in the dance. It's not going to be true to its origins, even though it can develop. So syncopation, yes, great. Diminuendo, crescendo, great, because they're all contrastive, and that's very good. It makes it very interesting, rhythmical, but still in the character of each dance.
Do you have any messages to dancing competitors in Japan and to any social dancers?
Competitors in Japan. Well, the first time I went to Japan was in 1970, which is a long time ago, and I've always been impressed tremendously by the Japanese dedication to whatever they do in ballroom dancing or any other art, in fact. And the dedication has been their great strength, I think, and their great loyalty to dancing and to ballroom dancing particularly. I would like to see more questioning from Japanese dancers, more initiative used in their understanding, in their lessons, and in their understanding of how to become great dancers. But they have a lot of talent, and they have a lot of dancers that are still world class, etc. And I just hope that the younger dancers, the younger Japanese competitive dancers are going to carry on the mantle that has been produced by some of the great Japanese dancers in the past. Some wonderful dancers, world-class dancers. Yes.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I notice is that the Japanese have exquisite shoulder lines, quite naturally actually. Most of them look fantastic. They don't need to put an awful lot of effort into how they look, so I don't think that's a problem for them. But I do think that understanding movement and the natural qualities of motion and how the body works is probably the key for them, because they already look good, so they don't really need to spend too much time on that. It's more about how the body works and the motion qualities that go to make dancing beautiful. So that would be my advice. And for the social dancers to just have fun, really.
Yeah, I would like to see also a Japanese couple emerge in the competitive scene that has real power of dance. And too many Japanese dancers concentrate, as Anne said, on the look rather than producing real motion and real powerful rhythmical dancing.
What is your schedule for Freedom to Dance?
Freedom to Dance schedule. Well, May the 9th this year, 2014, we shall be running the 4th Freedom to Dance Open to the World competition. We have great sponsorship. We have Ashley Froelich and the Empress Ballroom Orchestra, situated from Blackpool, playing for us live. We have another orchestra. We have two orchestras this year.
Yeah.
What's the name of the other
Graham Jones.
Graham Jones, and it's the British Imperial Orchestra. And we have innovation this year. We have a Pro-Am competition this year, which I hope will be interesting to everybody watching. And
a showcase.
Yes, that's basically what it is. Yeah,
Pro-Am showcase.
So.
Yes.
So that's basically what our near future is in that area.
And we'd like to say a special thank you to our sponsors, because they've been tremendously loyal to Freedom to Dance, and we're enormously grateful. We could not run the competition without them. I'm going to try and remember all their names now. Of course, Wendy Tu-Man Ying and her son, Mr. Terence Lay, from the Starlight Dance Centre in Macau and Hong Kong. They're our grand sponsors, and they've been tremendous to us, not only through their sponsorship but through their help as well and guidance. We have Ronnie Lee of Crystal Clover and Eda Sue, Alan Dixon of Vivo Dance in California. We also have Arthur Murray, so we have John Kimmins to thank for that. We also have Massimo Giorgiani and Alessia Manfredini. They are contributing prizes this year for their dance training camps. Capezio and Super Dance and Paul Wilson of the Wilson Dance Centre in Sweden is also contributing to the Lady Elegance competition that we have, which is a competition that started, I think, in 1949 and was originally called the Ballroom Queen, and it then became Miss Ballroom Dancing. And that's a historical event, and we rejuvenated it at the very first year at Freedom to Dance, which was the suggestion of Paul and Anne Wilson at the time. So I think I've remembered all
also
our sponsors.
Bill Lau.
And Bill Lau has been a tremendous
supporter.
Yes,
yeah.
and supporter of
Freedom
Freedom to Dance. So I think I've remembered everybody.
I think you have. Well done.
But if I haven't, I'm terribly sorry. So no, we're really looking forward to the day, and most importantly, our priority, as always, is the competitors. So we try to give them the best floor we can, and
best conditions that we can give.
Yes, and so they're number one.